So I woke up this morning and had this desire to talk about Arizona State and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time today. I want to talk a little bit about the Arizona State Sun Devils because they've just kind of been on my mind. They've been in the back of my brain, along with a number of other teams that just don't really factor into what we call blue blood football or big brand football. Some of those like Louisiana, who is really probably going to have one hell of a football year in 21 because they returned 96% of their offense, including quarterback Levi Lewis and the entire offensive line, and 98% of their defense. And we all know how good that team was last year. Then Billy Napier turned down every job to stay at Louisiana, and they got a game against Texas where Texas has a new head coach, a new quarterback, a new scheme on both sides, and if they do not come correct, will get handed their head, which means that Louisiana would have picked up a consecutive Big 12 win, and against the most moneyed program in all of football in Texas and a brand name in Texas after beating Iowa State in the best year of Iowa State football history, like period. That's how good they are. And I was looking at other teams that kind of fit into this, and Arizona State feels like they could be that squad for some teams, though they are a Power 5 team. Also random, Arizona State has a losing record to Hardin-Simmons. Like they're 8-12, which is, again, bonkers to me. And they actually have a losing record to Cal. But, that's getting into the weeds because I just, again, had Arizona State on my mind. And one of the things I wanted to see was how has Herm Edwards been for the past 3 years since he got that job? And he's 17-13, right? He has not had a losing season, even when last year you could argue was the worst season, when I really think he did a hell of a job coaching through it. 7-6 his first year, 8-5 his second year, then 2-2. First game, they lose 28-27 to USC in a game that they should have won. And if they beat USC, it might be a totally different ball game for them and how the year goes and how diligent they are in trying to, fight COVID-19 protocol and get to the playing field. But it didn't fall that way for them. But they returned 84% of their team from last year. And Jayden Daniels, who is the best dual threat quarterback in the entire conference. And there's Rashad White, and there's a couple of other dudes that I really like there. Among them, LV Bunkley Shelton, who is an outstanding wide receiver that I can't wait for y'all to see play. And then they got Jalen Conyers out of the portal from Oklahoma, who's going to play a little tight end for them. And we already know they can recruit, and we know that Herm Edwards is running his program like he would run an NFL franchise. That's part of the draw at one of the largest universities in the entire country. But one of the real reasons I think we're sleeping on this team is Chase Lucas. Like, we might be talking about an All-American at corner, and we just have been overlooking him because Oregon, because Utah, because it just hadn't been Arizona State's time to shine. A big part of that is getting to the Pac-12 championship game and getting into a major bowl being one of the New Year's Six. But I'm looking at Chase Lucas, who decided to return as a super senior for the upcoming year after last year he had 5 passes defended in 4 games and still forced a fumble. So I go a little bit. He's 6 foot. He's 180, but also come out of Chandler. And Chandler puts out hella football players, just absolute studs. He was teammates with N'Keal Harry, who was the first wide receiver that the Patriots ever took in the first round. Now, that's not necessarily looking like a great thing, but there was the COVID protocol year, and now that the Patriots have signed like every major free agent, or so it seems, they might actually be building towards something, and we'll see what the quarterback situation looks like for them and whether or not they go and draft one or how Bill Belichick chooses to build that dude, because there aren't that many years left for Bill Belichick to coach football. And I assume that he would like to build winners today as opposed to rebuild them for tomorrow. But I'm looking at Lucas and just go through his 2019 stuff. Started all 13 games, which is a great sign to start, right? And was a starter for the 3rd consecutive year. That means he's starting for a 5th year coming up here, right? So coming straight out the box, a top 200 prospect, 4-star recruit. He allowed just 1 touchdown in coverage in 2019. 1. And that was the lowest total in the Pac-12 and the 19th lowest total nationally. Paced the secondary with 72 pass breakups in 2019. No, excuse me. The secondary had 72 pass breakups in 2019. That was like their most since getting 75 in 2012. And then had 54 tackles, and 50 of those were solo. And the year before that had 60 tackles. Had 4.5 tackles for loss as a corner. Wants to come downhill, wants to hurt people. And then the Pac-12, even going 2-2, had the best scoring defense in all of the conference. 23.3 points per game. They basically lose what I think of as another heartbreaker against UCLA. But as much as people want to be up on UCLA this coming year because Dorian Thompson-Robinson is returning and whatnot, they lose Demetric Felton, who was a big part of their production offensively, and I'm still not sure whether or not Chip Kelly's going to figure it out, especially after you've seen the kind of talent that has left that program. For instance, Chris Murray is going to start on the offensive line for Oklahoma, and he came out of UCLA. Theo Howard went into the transfer portal, but he was coming out of UCLA. And then there's just the Herm Edwards effect. I did not expect Herm to be this good at coaching college football. I really didn't. I didn't expect Antonio Pierce to be this good at recruiting. And then you need to add in there that Jamar Cain was also on that staff for a little while before he ended up taking the job as outside linebackers rush-in coach at Oklahoma, and he was doing a hell of a job recruiting. And I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. All you got to do is lock down the state of Arizona, and you have a top 10 program, period. Spencer Rattler, Mark Andrews, Bijan Robinson, Chuba Purdy, N'Keal Harry, Chase Lucas, Noah Nelson. We can keep doing this all day because Arizona just knows how to play high school football. So lock it up. And then you'll see more like beating Arizona 70-7. I remember watching that game. That was the day I was like, Kevin Sumlin ain't fired before halftime. He will be fired by the end of the game. And he was. So keep your eye on Arizona State. Keep your eye on Louisiana. Those are two teams that I'm going to be watching a lot. And as these teams pop up in my head, I'm going to have more to say about them. But I just wanted to get this out in front of you. And some of y'all will watch it, most of you won't. Deuces.